Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to play as, well, basically anything you want in Halo 2. Any character, any vehicle, it's pretty much anything is possible. So, this has been a big request for the better part of the past month or so. So, without further ado, here's how you do it. First, you got to start up on co-op, either live or split screen. You want to kill your teammate. You want to make sure they don't spawn, just melee and everything, and find a spawn a map, like the back of this cave here, that prevents from spawning. And once you're sure they won't respawn, restart the mission, and then kill them again, and delay the spawn until whatever you want to control spawns in. In this case, we're doing it on the Sentinel Enforcer. Now, the Enforcer is a little tricky, actually. If you mess up with the Enforcer, you can just repeat and do the same step again, you know, kill your teammate, and then keep swinging your sword, or jumping around. That way your teammate doesn't spawn in until the right moment, which is when the AI spawns in. Now let's take a look from my perspective, because I was the one playing as the Sentinel Enforcer in this case. The Enforcer is a little tricky because it kind of spawns in a wall, sort of, partially in it, and if you're not quick enough, or if you don't look in the right direction quick enough, then you'll kind of like fly into it and explode and die. But we finally got it working, and well, in first person, this is what it looks like when you play as the Sentinel Enforcer. For some reason, you're actually wielding a rocket launcher, which I assume is what the Enforcer uses to fire its rockets at you, which is actually pretty interesting. I never actually would have imagined that in first person of an AI, they actually, like, some things actually have like weapon models in first person, especially the rockets on the Enforcer. Because I figured they were like different than UNSC rocket launchers, but I guess they're the same. And of course, you could switch between different weapons in the Enforcer, like its rapid fire needle guns or whatever those are. But anyways, let's look at both perspectives now. So, bottom perspective is my teammate, or Hark the Shark, who's doing most of the work to get me to spawn as the Sentinel Enforcer. And as you can see in the top right corner, that's me playing in first person. So you can see both perspectives going on at the same time. Now, if you want to see both perspectives going on at the same time by yourself, then you could play on split screen, and in which case you basically have the same result as what we see right now, except, you know, it'd be Halo split screen. So that definitely works, and sometimes it actually might be better to do it on a split screen instead of Xbox Live. Just because, you know, on Xbox Live there's a bunch of other factors you might take into account, like it could be like lagging really badly, or sometimes the other player may not know what to do, and stuff like that. But, you know, on split screen, it's all totally in your control. But anyways, as for the Sentinel Enforcer here, you have pretty much full control over it. There's some things you can't do in it. Like, there's that one thing with the Enforcer where it could like suck up vehicles off the ground and then crush them in midair. That's apparently not possible at the moment, but maybe one day it could be figured out. But for now, you could do everything else. You could still use the crushing thing, just you can't pick things up, and you can switch between weapons. Actually, like, the way sometimes switching between weapons on the Enforcer is kind of random. Apparently the AI is still partially in control, and it will switch weapons when it feels like it. So sometimes it'll use the needle rounds, other times switch to the rocket, and sometimes it may even switch to the third weapon of the Enforcer, which is like this invisible sentinel beam, which is actually pretty interesting that you can actually even use that. But yeah, so there you guys have it. That is what it's like to play as the Enforcer, and how to play as the Enforcer as well. So after this, moving right along, we are going to play as the Heretic Grunt next. Now, there's a lot of things we could play as, so I'm not going to show like every possible thing in this video, but I'm just showing you some of the cooler examples and some of the easier ones to do as well. There are really hard ones that you could also do, but maybe in the future we could cover those in separate videos. Or if you want, I could even split this up into separate videos and show you guys even more footage of playing as each of these characters and more detailed tutorials. But for the moment, it's pretty simple and straightforward to do. Just one teammate kills the other teammate, and then prevents them from spawning by jumping and meleeing, and then find somewhere in the map where they can't spawn. And then once you're sure they can't spawn, restart the mission, and then repeat the same steps again But then this time, after you repeat the same steps, keep meleeing, and then, you know, go to wherever a certain AI is going to spawn. You need to time it just right, just when the AI spawns in, because if you do it too early, you may take over something else or nothing at all. But yeah, if you mess up, you could just restart mission and try it again. But it's all you really need to do. And if you time it just right, you'll be able to take over pretty much any character you want. Now, one thing to keep in mind is during this whole process, when you're taking over a certain character, if the character is later in the mission, any shots that are fired, any projectiles that are spawned in, or any objects that are spawned in or launched, you have to reproduce that when you restart the mission after your first setup. Otherwise, it will actually mess it up. But in this case, we've managed to keep enemies from shooting in time, so that we didn't have to really reproduce all the shots. But if you're taking over something that's later in the mission, where a lot of enemies fire, then you're gonna have to keep track of every single shot that happens, which is why certain enemies or certain AIs are a lot harder to control. But anyways, the heretic Grunt, which we're playing as right now, wasn't too hard to take over. Now, one interesting thing of the heretic Grunt is that it can actually fly banshees. I did not think grunts could actually fly banshees, but apparently they can. But when they do fly banshees, it's actually really weird. So they can get in, but when they go in, they actually stand straight up and just kind of T-pose or A-pose. And the hatch or the cockpit of the Banshee does not close. It stays open, kind of like one of those Halo 1 Banshees back before Halo 1 came out. You saw like in the pre-release trailers, and even on the cover of Halo 1, you can see a lot of Banshees with open hatches up top. Well, this is kind of what it reminds me of. But yeah, so the other thing is that the Grunt actually can't fire the Banshee weapons either. I can't use the plasma cannons, I can't use the Banshee bombs either. But in the Banshee, with the Grunt piloting it, I can fly through barriers, including death barriers. So I can pretty much fly all the way to the bottom of the map into the storm. Well, not really into the storm, actually, because you eventually hit the ground or like the invisible floor before you actually fly into what you see is the storm. But it's actually really cool for exploring the map, because you can basically no-clip past barriers in a way by doing this. So on other missions, if you take over other characters, then you should be able to do the same thing as well. Alright, so next thing we're going to take over is a elite flood combat form. So same thing, just kill your teammate, find a place where they can't spawn, which in this case is actually up on top of that door part there. Restart the mission, kill your teammate again, and then once they're dead, make sure they don't spawn in. And then just keep moving forward until, in this case on the map Oracle, up ahead there'll be some flood combat forms that spawn down there. You should be able to take one of them over. At least I'm pretty sure that's what we're taking over. But once you take it over, then yeah, you're playing as the flood combat form. So playing as the flood is actually really interesting, actually pretty fun, because there's a lot of, you can like jump really high up with the flood combat form, but you're also like really fragile, especially on easy difficulty, and your teammates tend to shoot at you until you hit a loading point. Once you get past one loading point, then you're good, they won't shoot at you. But in the case of the mission Oracle, there were no loading points yet, so yeah, my teammates will keep shooting at me. But aside from that, it's pretty cool, and you could still use most of the flood's actions, but sometimes if you get too close to an enemy, or rather too close to an ally, the enemy AI inside the flood combat form will actually kind of take over and kind of automatically charge at an enemy or automatically melee and stuff like that. But you know, aside from that, it's no problem controlling it. But I would say that compared to all the other AIs, the flood combat AI actually has probably more control than other AIs we've tried with. Now, next up, no more characters. Now we're going to take over a vehicle, and not drive a vehicle, but actually play as a vehicle. Which when I first heard that, I thought that was like crazy. Like I thought like it was like a misconception or like a wrong use of terms. But you actually are playing as a Phantom, and not flying it, but playing as one, which even with like mods, it's actually pretty hard to do something like that, and like it's definitely not trivial. And in Halo 1 with the bump possession mod, you can't even take over vehicles like that either. So this is actually pretty amazing, like that a glitch can actually do something easier and actually better than the mod. But yeah, so this is what it's like to play as a Phantom in first person. The Phantom actually can shoot other weapons, which at this point I don't really know like why it can do that. But it can also flip other vehicles, but it can't drive other vehicles. If it could, that'd be like totally crazy, seeing a Phantom drive another vehicle. Like saying all those in a sentence just sounds really ridiculous to me, but that's actually the case. And of course, you can switch weapons in the Phantom, switch to its main, Phantom guns, or switch to whatever weapon you're holding, which in the case earlier was an SMG. But let's take a look from both perspectives again. So there's me playing as the Phantom. It's pretty easy to control, and you have all the functions of the Phantom as well. But I don't think I could actually like land the Phantom. Like I definitely can't get out of it because I'm playing as the Phantom. The AI or the pilot is actually still inside, which actually you could flip the Phantom pilot out, but it won't flip you out because you are the Phantom. But the pilot you can kick out. Now, another fun thing that I wanted to do with the Phantom is in a little bit after this part of the mission, the Pelican spawns in. You can actually have like a battle with the Pelican. You could ram it, you could shoot at it. You can't destroy the Pelican, but you could potentially flip the pilot out of the Pelican, and the Pelican will go all glitchy after that. But it was actually pretty hard to do in the Phantom, because it's really hard to see without being able to play in third person. Like I know in first person I can kind of aim it that way, but it's just easier in third person to like angle the Phantom correctly, because in first person I can't really see like my correct angle. But it was still pretty cool having like a ramming battle with this Pelican, and I was able to push it so far out of the map, and it'll keep shooting at me and I'll shoot at it. But since I am the Phantom and Phantoms are indestructible in Halo 2, I could not die. I am invincible when playing as the Phantom. Even if I fly through like solid object or into solid space, I'll take massive amounts of damage, but I won't die because I am indestructible when playing as the Phantom. And remember, it is playing as the Phantom itself, not as the pilot driving the Phantom, which is still pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. And like it really almost doesn't make sense, but it's possible, and here it is without mods, of course. But yeah, so that's what it's like to play as the Phantom, not drive it, but play as it. Alright, for the last thing I'm going to show you guys, so this video doesn't get too long, is well, this one I never would have imagined, just because of how silly it is if you think about it. But this next one, which you're about to see in a second, is playing, well, in Halo 2, without mods, playing as the machine gun turret, which is about to happen right now. And when I actually spawned this machine gun turret, I actually brought Sergeant Johnson with me, who was still on me and actually firing the turret as well. But if I want more control of the turret, then you gotta have the other player, your teammate, kick Sergeant Johnson off the turret. But yeah, you can actually play as a machine gun turret, because the machine gun turret counts as a vehicle, and because, like with the Phantom, you can play as vehicles, therefore you can play as a machine gun turret. Really, you can play as any vehicle in the game, but just like the same rule with AIs or other characters, the later in the mission the vehicle is, the harder it is, because other AIs are shooting and you have to make sure to reproduce all those shots and stuff. And by reproduce, it could be as simple as just firing like bullets out of your SMG or something. That counts. Just as long as the same number of shots is fired. Doesn't matter who fires it, just has to be the same number of shots. But yeah, you've basically created like an automatic turret. Well, semi-automatic, because and semi-automatic as in like semi-sentient, because it is the AI, a player controlling it. But from another player's perspective, it does look like the turret's acting on its own, so to speak. Now you can actually still wield other weapons as the machine gun turret, and then fire those other weapons, which again, is pretty funny because in third person you actually see the turret holding another weapon, such as the SMG in this case. And what's also cool is that even though I'm not technically dual wielding yet, it actually combines my crosshairs or my reticle with the SMG and the machine gun turret's reticle, and you get a pretty cool result actually. But even better is I can still dual wield another weapon and fire both weapons too as the machine gun turret, which is actually pretty interesting because not even the Grunt can dual wield weapons correctly in Halo 2, but a machine gun turret for some reason can dual wield weapons better than a Grunt. And if I dual wield weapons as the machine gun turret, it combines all 3 crosshairs, and as you can see there, you get a really cool triple crosshair, which I don't think I've ever seen before in Halo 2, because usually you can't triple wield weapons. But in this case, I do have 3 crosshairs, and yeah, it's a pretty cool result. Now, with the machine gun turret, it can't move when you're playing as a turret. I can only look around, which makes sense, because, you know, the turret, it's not meant to be moved. It's a stationary vehicle, hence why it's a turret. But if you do want to move it throughout the mission, then the other player can actually continue on through the mission normally, and when they hit certain loading points, they'll actually teleport you with them. But you can't finish the entire mission as the machine gun turret, because there are certain parts of this mission towards the end where it requires both players to actually get to a certain spot, which is then impossible with the machine gun turret. But for most of the mission, you can actually have a lot of fun with it though. And here we spawn it up here, and it basically becomes a floating turret. Take out enemies as well. And if your teammate helps you pick up weapons, then you can actually, especially if you pick up a plasma rifle, you can kind of essentially turn the machine gun turret into a plasma cannon, which, yeah, I know. But yeah, so there you guys have it. That is basically the glitch in Halo 2 to take control and play as pretty much any character or vehicle you want. It's essentially Halo 1's bump possession, but on steroids. Really, it's really cool. You can do so much more than the Halo 1 version of bump possession, and all without mods as well. So hopefully, guys, you find this to be pretty cool and pretty interesting. And if you did enjoy this video, as always, make sure to leave a like. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Definitely give a big thanks to all the founders of this glitch. And of course, anything else you want me to check out or look into, or any questions you have, just let me know, and I'll do my best to look into and answer those questions when I get the chance. But other than that, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next time. Bye, guys.